to kind of understand it. It's not takfir. It's not the concept of this person is no longer Muslim, but they're not actually, they don't understand what we're about, and they're not actually a part of our group. They're not actually participating appropriately because they're doing something that goes against what we believe in. So these hadith, the way I've titled them is whom we are not. This is a kind of these hadith explaining what we're definitely not about. So what he says here, alayhi salatu wasalam, in this hadith, قال ليس منا من خبب امرأة على زوجها ولا عبدا على سيده. And we don't have examples of flavor anymore, so I'll focus on the first piece because that's what matters in this hadith. ليس منا من خبب امرأة على زوجها. It's not in keeping with our values. Those who do this are not amongst us, are not a part of our group. Whom ruins the relationship of trust and respect between a wife and her husband. Takhbib is a very specific term. It's when you're satisfied with something, you think it's all right, you like it, and then someone comes and starts to show you all of the flaws of how it could be better, of how it's not as good as you think it is. And this is specifically on relationships where some degree of trust or some degree of satisfaction is required for them to survive. And the example is about, specifically, تخبيب المرأة على الزوج, ruining the relationship between a wife and her husband. Because that's how you end up ruining families. And once the family is ruined, يكبر على الأمة أربعة. There's nothing left for this ummah to look forward to, and we're basically taking our last breaths. It's the family. The family is what this whole thing is about. What you do in your life, like you're responsible for your family first and foremost. Regardless of what you do, you're always going to be asked about your family. You may not be asked about everyone else, but you're going to be asked about your family for sure. So make sure that you prioritize them as they are prioritized in terms of your hisab yawm al-qiyamah. And someone who comes to a lady who is getting along with her husband and puts in her mind the fact that he's not as good and he's not this, and she starts feeling disgruntled, and she starts not wanting to be a part of this family. She starts to slowly move away from her marriage and her household and her family. This is a horrific act of treason even within the deen. And the reason the Prophet ﷺ pointed that out is because people within marriage, they disagree all the time. They disagree all the time, and they fight all the time, and they don't get along. Many, it's very, very common. It's almost like the only constant in life is death, and that two married people will fight. Like it's almost not, it's not debatable. It's never not happened, but it'll always happen. So if you're listening to someone complaining about their spouse, unless you are hearing red flags of abuse, all right? Unless you are hearing red flags of abuse, meaning someone who's being physically abusive or verbally abusive, they're acting in a way where this should not continue anymore. This is not safe for this person to be there. Your job is to remind the person that's speaking to you of the importance of staying in what they are doing, staying in a part of their family. And for you to encourage that person to get out, or yeah, this, or yeah, that, and you actually increase their... See, if I come to you and I'm upset with my spouse, and I start complaining about my wife, and you start coming with me, like you say, yeah, no, she's completely that. Oh, she's worse than that. I don't even know how you could put up with her. That is a horrific act. Unless my wife is actually, unless she's cheating on me, and that's what I'm telling you, which is an act of abuse on the other side of the pendulum, then you're doing is takhbib, and that's a horrific thing to do. And for sisters, when they come and say, yeah, of course, that's what else we're going to do. And we complain, but I just tell you to suck it up and continue to move forward. And I've said it on the minbar. I don't care. And this is one of the piece of so the one thing that I said over the last year, if I were to put it together, that I got the most feedback on was this one phrase that I said once. I can't think of it one of them. Where I told men, I don't care if you love your wife or you're not. You hold on to your family. And apparently men are much more sensitive than I thought they were. And I ended up getting a lot of men coming and saying how they didn't appreciate me saying that. And I enjoy telling them I don't care either. Like, you don't appreciate that? Couldn't care less. It doesn't make a difference. This is what you do. But what I'm talking about is the opposite side of this, specifically for sisters. So this hadith, a lot of it is kind of towards my sisters. When a sister comes and complains to you about her husband, again, watch out for red flags of abuse. I'm very clear on this, and I don't think it should be ever taken lightly, or it's not compromisable. If someone's being abused, then you need to remove them from that situation. Abuse is abuse, and it's very well defined and it's clear, and we don't accept that. But anything less than that, be careful of what advice you offer. Be careful of what attitude you offer the other person. Because it's takhbeeb. If you encourage that person to ruin their marriage and ruin their relationship, that's not what we do. We don't behave that way. That's not what we're about. We're about the family. Of course, it's hard to hold on to a marriage 15 and 20 and 25 and 30 and whatever. So it's hard after a month or two. Like, to hold on to a marriage takes a lot of work. You don't need people around you encouraging you to walk away from it and ruining the fabric of society and ruining the family. You need people who will continue to remind you, no, you hold on and you continue and you work on it and you prove yourself and you do something different and you bring people together. And I think that's the value of this hadith, because it's very important. You can see these hadith, laysa minna, are talking about rituals, they're talking about art, they're talking about all these different, they're talking about ethics, and they're talking now about social contracts, something that I think is very important today. Now, I don't want to say this, but I should. Sister, don't go to someone who's going to strengthen your opinion on your problem with your husband. Like, you know who they are in your life. Like, if you're fighting your husband, he's being your husband, and you don't want to, if you go to a certain person, she's gonna say things to you that's gonna make it less likely for you to fix the problem with him later, right? Don't go to that person. Go to someone who will hold you a little bit accountable. That's a real friend. I tend not to complain to people that I know are going to just say, yeah, no, everyone around. I need someone who's, when I complain to them, say, suck it up. You can do better than this, be better. Because that's what a friend does, and that's what you need, because we all want someone to tell us that we're right and the other person is wrong, and give us that. But really, that's not what you require. You don't need that. Like in life, you don't really need that. If you're going to be able to move forward and amend a relationship and succeed, you need someone to actually push back a little bit. With love, not with hatred, with love. Push back so that you revise yourself and be better. And think about that, because you know who you go to. So know who you're going to. And family members specifically, and mothers, God bless our mothers, Yani. But watch out. Watch out what you say to your daughters, and watch out what you say to your sister, and watch out what you say to your cousins. Because, yeah, you shouldn't do this and shouldn't do that. And then she goes and she takes it all and she gets divorced and now she's miserable. And, no, you wouldn't have wanted that if you were in her situation. No one wants to be divorced. No one wants it. Like, even those who say they want it, they don't really want it. They're just very frustrated with the situation that they're in. They need help. They're calling out for help. They're not asking for you to help them end it. They could have ended it themselves. They want help. Abuse, again, is different. يروي الإمام أبو داود في سننه بسند صحيح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم ليس منا من خبب امرأة على زوجها ولا عبدا على سيده صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سبحانك وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد أجمعين. Please pray your sunnah swiftly and then allow us to continue our usul fiqh lesson. You're welcome to attend it if you want to.